Duh. I guess we gotta do this. Alright, everyone. Welcome to the Tonto's Demise Week 1 Recap 2024 Season 22 of Tonto's Demise. And what a Week 1 it was. I was trying to figure out what should I do after the Week 1 here to maybe turn things around, maybe hopefully right the ship a little bit, get things for me. And I realized that, last year I reversed the curse with the Phillip Rivers jersey. I believe I wore it every single week last year. So I was like, well, guess we got to go for it. But this year, we got to really go for it. So, I'm not going to show you, but needless to say, I'm wearing the Phillip Rivers jersey, and that's it. Still got that fresh gags smell. But anyway. All right. What happened in Week 1? Honestly, I wasn't paying much attention, if I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, because other things going on and traveling and doing stuff, and I didn't get the YouTube college thing this year. I don't know if you can still do that. I might think about it, change my mind, or figure out some way to watch games, because I was kind of bored on Sunday afternoon. Although by Sunday afternoon I didn't really care, because Xavier Worthy and mostly Jaden Reed put me in a hole that I was pretty sure I wasn't going to climb out of, with T. Higgins being out and all sorts of stuff after that, like Justin's guys scoring 2 touchdowns apiece, 1 long touchdown. But anyway, the good news is I'm the defending champion, so we get to talk about my matchup first every single week this year. So instead of talking vaguely about it, let's just jump right into it. Coming back, trying to defend the championship, Tonto Bowl, and perhaps win the back-to-back championship pot, which I'm sure no one wants to see happen. No one has won back-to-back championships since, actually, this guy in, I believe it was 2010 and 2011. So we're pushing 15 years since we've had a back-to-back champion, but we've only been doing this pot for about 6 or 7 years. I believe it's currently $600, somewhere in that ballpark. But anyway, all right. Starting the title defense on a very weak start, Darkwing Jut slaughters the Wizard of Wimber 191.6 to an even 130. For Darkwing, Josh Allen put Shakir in this week only because I wanted to counter Josh Allen, and he was using Keon Coleman. Was hoping for a little bit more from Shakir. Of course, said lost T. Higgins just before, I think, like Thursday or Friday. So, had to put JSN in there. Anyway, all right, well, didn't really work too well. I was hoping for a little bit more from Shakir. I don't think it would have mattered, because the rest of my team sucked. Allen goes for 51.5. Jaden Reed, who I got sniped on the draft board. Let's see, it would be right here, I think, because there's me, number 12. So I think, yeah, it should be right there. He had a long touchdown bonus, so he actually got you 36 points. So Xavier Worthy went for 21. Keon Coleman, 9. Kyron, 14.5. Joe Mixon popping off for 30 points this week. Mark Andrews left you wondering, only 3.5. CD Lamb in the flex, 13.5, not too bad. Jake Elliott, your kicker, goes for about 9 point something. And Monday night, fortunately, it didn't matter to you. Your Jets defense only got you 3 points against the San Francisco 49ers. I think Justin and I were both expecting week 1 to be quiet performances from our defenses, and that's exactly what happened. Knowing better days will hopefully be ahead, that they're better than what their week 1 matchups. All right, for the Wizard of Windber, Joe Burrow, 30.7. Puka comes back and then goes right back out after scoring 8 points. Now he's on the temporary IR for about 4 or 5 weeks. So, yeah, excited for that. Detling could not be more actually excited, not sarcastically excited. Shakir goes for 13. JSN had to plug him in. Only 4 points from him. ETN, 12. Pacheco, 16. Ferguson, my tight end, also gets injured after scoring 4.5 points. Rashad White, 16.5. My kicker, Fairbairn, goes for about 18. And then including 3, all of his field goals were 50 plus. So I'll take that all year long. So yeah, Fairbairn was my highest scoring player that wasn't a quarterback this week. Ugh. And Baltimore defense, their score, I did not have to adjust either one of our scores for defense here between me and Justin. Baltimore's score was 8. And Justin, he was 1-0. His 191 got him to second place, while the Wizard of Wimber, my score 130, left me in 11th place. Thought for sure I was going to get knocked out this week, but thank you, Christian McCaffrey. We'll go to this matchup for sitting this week, and Garendo for scoring a 0 and saving me, keeping me in the knockout pool at least for one more week. And Josh gets kicked out first. He was up against Boomers, and Boomers gets the victory, 153.3 to 128.65. A lot of, just taking a look here, I wanted to say low scores out of the gate here in week 1. A lot of 150s. I know if Justin and Gags had pretty good weeks. Disco did okay. So a lot of scores in the 150 to 160 range here. But man, you were very fortunate if you had any of your guys pop off this week. So many players, single-digit scores, wide receivers, and things like that. Just like, wow. Guys who were taken high in the draft just really didn't do much this week. All around, not just me, on everybody's teams. But anyway, what did we say? Boomers 153.3 to Shawshanks 128.65. So yeah, by a point. 1.35, I survived the knockout pool. All right, Boomers gets the victory, but he loses Jordan Love, his keeper, for a few weeks here. I believe he is I don't know if he's going to be heading to the temporary IR. He will not be placed on injured reserve. LaFleur declined to fully rule out Love from week 2, which is kind of surprising. So we'll see. So good news for Zach here. They're not going to put him on IR. The bad news is your backup quarterback is Purdy. So maybe you'll make a move for somebody. We'll see what happens. But anyway, you might be starting Purdy for a week or 2. We'll see. We'll have to keep an eye on that situation. See what happens, because it would have a trickle-down effect, obviously, on Packers wide receivers, Jaden Reed, Wicks, Watson. Anyway, I digress. Debo goes for 18.5. Mike Evans, 23. 2 touchdowns for him this week. Tank Dell, 9. Aaron Jones, 19. Bijan goes for 16. Trey McBride, 8. Devin Singletary, 9. Koo goes for 3 point something. And your Cleveland defense started them over Detroit defense. Somebody else made a weird defensive choice this week. I think it cost them. I want to say it was Ed. I'll have to do that matchup next. Anyway, Cleveland defense. Yahoo says 3. Looks like you got about a 9-point bump to 12. And that was enough to get you past Shawshank this week, who played Geno Smith over his keeper, Anthony Richardson. And it actually gained you 0.35. But that didn't make any difference. Garrett Wilson, Monday night, goes for 12. This one, once CMC was ruled out, wasn't really too much Josh could do. Would have been nice if San Francisco had made this decision a little bit earlier. But I'm sure that they probably thought, as long as they thought there was a chance he was going to play, they weren't going to rule him out so that the other team had to plan for him, I guess. Strategery. Anyway, all right. Another high draft pick, Drake London. Perhaps the Falcons' defense is going to be was a little overrated going into the season here. Kirk Cousins, perhaps not quite fully recovered from that Achilles tear. I think he played like full shotgun, they said, in that game, which that's very unlike Kirk Cousins. Not mobile, not that he's ever been really mobile at all, but they say, from listening to stuff and reading some stuff, it's a little soon to come back from an Achilles injury for a quarterback. Rodgers, his was right out of the gate, as you may remember last year. Kirk Cousins' Achilles injury was midway through the season, somewhere in there. So he's got another month or two till he's like a full year out, which I believe they say is about whenever you should. It's not usually till then, till you're fully recovered. But anyway, let's see. Pickens goes for 13.5. DeAndre Swift, only 5. You plug and played Garendo, the backup San Fran running back, hoping for a miracle, but he got you 0. Said all you needed from him was 1.5 to at least survive the knockout pool. Kelsey, only 6.5. Tony Pollard, 18.5. Butker goes for about 10. And your Miami defense goes for, Yahoo says, 12. Looks like you also got about a 12-point bump to 24. But, too many single-digit scores here. That 0 from CMC Garendo wasn't enough to get past Boomers this week. Let's see. Just needed, what was the difference here? About 25 points. For Josh, really, what could you have done different? Just needed your big guns to come through. And they did not do it this week. 36 points. You're always looking for 40, 45, hoping for maybe 50 from your quarterback's always nice. But yeah. It was a down week across the board for a lot of players and a lot of people here this week. So anyway, Boomers with the victory. He's 1-0. He is in 6th place. While Shawshank, 0-1, he is in 12th place. And he is also the first one eliminated from the knockout pool. Alright, we said we would do Ed next, because he made what I thought was a kind of strange choice. I don't know if it actually decided this matchup or not, but let's get into it. Ed Lager versus Disco. Disco gets the victory. 174.2 to 155.45. All right. The much hyped Jaguars team was supposed to light it up against Miami Dolphins here, be a shootout. Trevor Lawrence, your quarterback, started him over Kyler Murray. Fortunately, it didn't really make a difference. Again, Murray only scored 36 on the bench, but Lawrence only got you 25. Fortunately for you, that didn't matter. A.J. Brown had a bink. He gets you 27 6 points. Your second round pick, super excited until you saw this stat line. 1 catch for 4 yards from Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm well aware also because I drafted him number 1 overall in our other Dynasty League thing that we got going on here. And I was like, what the fuck was that? Anyway, all right. You were hoping for the Lawrence to Brian Thomas connection to go off for you this week. Thomas did score a touchdown, 4 for 40-something, and a touchdown gets you 14.5. Josh Jacobs, 12.5. Ashan goes for most of it. He had a he had a rushing touchdown, but he had 7 catches. Most of his stats came from receiving. He gets you an even 23 points. But the big fear here, again, is he's already got a questionable tag. It seems like he hasn't been able to stay healthy. As much potential and explosion as he shows in last year and going into this year. That was a big problem last year, and it looks like that might continue on this year with injury issues for Ashan there. So something to keep an eye on. Njoku goes for 8.5 points before suffering a high ankle sprain. He is probably going to be out for a little while. Let's take a look at him. He is week to week. I don't see anything about the temporary IR, just week to week. So we'll see what happens there. But I think Disco, correct me if I'm wrong, does not roster a second tight end. So he's going to have to make a move sometime tonight or tomorrow morning. Breece Hall scores a touchdown in the flex there, goes for 18.5. Carlson, your kicker, 3 point something, maybe 4. And then the big one here to boost you was the Dallas Cowboys defense against Cleveland, who was terrible. You got a big boost here. Yahoo says 24. Let's see. You got a big from Brown. So that would take you to 156. I'm going to say like you got like an extra 18, maybe. So that would take you to 42. Pretty good score. 40 plus from your defense. And it was enough to get you past Ed Logger this week, who we already mentioned. Kirk Cousins, only 21.75 points from him. Your bench quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, 22 points from him. So yeah, it's just, man, the quarterback scores down this week. So many things were down this week. Devontae goes for 11. Olaf, one of your keepers, only 3. Zay Flowers, 11. Saquon, as we all know, Friday night there, pops off for 3 touchdowns in his Eagles debut. Over 36 points from him. Stevenson goes for over 100 yards and a touchdown, gets you 24.5. Dalton Schultz, 4.5. Chris Godwin gets a touchdown, scores 22.5. Sanders, the Miami kicker, gets you about 10. And then you went with the Atlanta Falcons defense versus Pittsburgh over the Chicago. Excuse me. Over the did that just freeze also? Maybe I don't know. The Chicago Bears defense, who scored at home against Tennessee. I guess I don't know if Atlanta's defense that hyped before the season. I know the Bears were a little bit. I think the Bears were the defense that you drafted. Let's see. Did you gain anything from the? Let's see. Just do a quick tally here, because Ed, you lost by 19 points, a little bit less than 19 points. So Atlanta, it looks like you did not have any banks. So Atlanta's defense must have gotten you 11. I want to say it must have been 11. Let's take a quick look here at the league page, see what I adjusted you for Ed Lager. Yeah, you must have gained 3 from them. So that would make your total for Atlanta's defense 11. Let's real quick see if we can figure out what the Bears defense did. Let's go to Ed Lager. So 11, so I said, what, about 19? So you needed about 30 points from the Bears defense. They had to have gotten 30. I mean, Yahoo says, I think, that they scored over 30. Yeah, Yahoo says they scored over 30. So, yeah, I don't even need to bother figuring that out for our stats. If you had went with the Bears defense, I'm sure Ed Lager already, first of all, he already knows this. Second of all, there's no way he's watching this right now. I'm fairly certain. I'm not sure anybody watches this. But yeah, because I'm just not that entertaining. I'll admit it. I'll be the first to admit it. All right. But yeah, what as Gags would say, or Gags' shirt would say, it is what it is. You started Atlanta, you rolled the dice, and you crapped out. Disco, he goes to 1-0. He is in 3rd place. Ed Lager starts 0-1. He is in 8th place. All right, and let's move right down my line here. Next up, Possum Magic versus Biscuits and Porn. Possum gets the victory, 163.95 to 155.35. Looks like this was actually the closest matchup of the week. Really came down to the Possum Magic plug play of the Minnesota Vikings defense against the Giants. The Giants and Daniel Jones look like they're going to be terrible this year. Let's see what the difference here was. Lamar Jackson goes off on Thursday night for 57 points. He's got a Q next to his name now. A little bit sore, blah, 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 blah. I don't see any specifics. May not play due to undisclosed. All right. Anyway, he went for 57 points. That was the difference here because in a head-to-head matchup, Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, Lamar went for 57 and Mahomes went for 37. Michael Pittman, 7. Justin Jefferson, 16. Rashee Rice, 17. Derrick Henry, 10.5. Javonte Williams, 3.3. Dalton Kincaid, only 2. Scary Terry in the flex, 3.5. Elle McPherson, the most beautiful kicker I've ever seen, goes for 6 point something. And then again, the Vikings defense, Yahoo says 26. Possum, looks like you got about a 15-point bump to 41. So that was definitely the difference maker here. I don't know, do you even have? I didn't know that Minnesota was that good of a defense. But that is the only defense Possum Magic currently has on his roster. He does have the much coveted, I should point out, he has the much coveted Isaiah Likely, the free agent darling in many fantasy football leagues this week. But he is on Possum Magic's bench. Perhaps, well, you're not going to bench Dalton Kincaid. Maybe you'll throw him in the flex here. I don't know. Or use him as some trade bait. But anyway, yeah, Possum Magic does not have any other defense besides Minnesota, which kind of surprises me because their schedule is not great. Maybe I understand week 1 it was pretty good, but looking ahead, it is less than ideal. So yeah, they can't play. If only you could play, your defense could play Daniel Jones every single week. So yeah, I'm gonna wait and see what Possum Magic's gonna do about that. Anyway, Biscuits and Porn. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes goes for 37. DJ Moore 10. Devontae Smith 15.5. Ladd McConkey catches a touchdown and goes for 15. Najee goes for 9. Jahmyr Gibbs 17.5. Evan Ingram only 1.5. Bang Bang Robinson goes for 18. Aubrey, your Cowboys kicker, he kicks multiple 50-yarders, multiple 40-yarders, goes for about 22 points. And then your Bengals defense backfired on you. You plugged them in versus the Bengals defense. You plugged in the Bengals defense versus the Patriots defense. Or Patriots. Blah, getting ahead of myself here. And that, like I said, Minnesota worked for Possum. The Bengals backfired for Biscuits. Let's see. Yahoo says 7. I'm gonna guess you got a 3-point boost to 10. But yeah, really nobody stood out in this matchup except Possum gets by on the sexiness of his buns. Lamar Jackson and the Minnesota Vikings defense said it was only a 8.5-point difference here. Patrick Mahomes does a little bit more for you. He only needed 9 more yards to get the 300-yard bonus, but he didn't do that. Lamar Jackson had over 100 rushing yards, so he got you, that's 15 points right there. Yeah, just notice no big scores here up and down the board. Just needed somebody to do a little bit more than what they did. And this matchup could have gone either way, but it went the way it went. Possum Magic gets the victory. He starts 1-0. He is in 4th place. Biscuits and Porn starts 0-1. He is in 9th place. All right, we did that. We got Yinzer Jags versus the Dub C Hooligans. This one kind of close. Came down to Monday night, sort of. Yinzer Jags gets the victory thanks to the San Francisco defense. 154.75 to an even 140 for Dub C Hooligans. Let's take a look. Yinzer Jags stacking Lions this year. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Sam Laporta. However, those 3 players combined scored, 12, 42, about 4. Those 3 guys combined this week for only about 43 points total. So Goff goes for 30.5. Amon-Ra 4.5. Cooper Kupp, perhaps thanks to Nakua going down, but yeah, he was getting peppered with targets. Looks like that's going to be the case probably most of the season. That he slipped that far. Listening to a lot of some stuff and following Twitter threads and things like that, ADP, things like that, stuff on YouTube. That Cooper, our league is different, as you guys know, because the keepers factor in and move guys who are like 3rd or 4th round picks in many drafts up to like 2nd round picks, 3rd round picks in our league. So Cooper Kupp was like in a lot of leagues, they were talking about him being like a 3rd or 4th round pick. Like he was, as you know, he was 2nd in our league, but just the fact that he would fall that far, people were scared. I don't know, but anyway, probably going to be a great pick for the rest of the season. Cooper Kupp 32, Amari Cooper only 3.5. Deshaun Watson looks like he doesn't know where he is. I know they were talking about him being one of a steal quarterback draft pick, but whoever said that in the podcast, I want to say it was Brian. Have you watched him actually play? Is the question. Because he has not looked like the Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans maybe like 4 years ago. Since 4 years ago. But anyway, there was one of the NFL memes, I think it said, Baker Mayfield left Cleveland and to become a superstar, and Deshaun, like I forget exactly what it says, but like the Browns managed to turn Deshaun Watson into garbage, but and Baker Mayfield leaves and becomes a stud. Their words, not mine. Anyway, Mari Cooper 3.5. I think there was a little meme of like a clip of Amari Cooper like rolling his eyes at the play call coming in during that game. But anyway, I would be worried more about Amari Cooper being pissed because his name was I believe in the Ayuk trade rumors. The Browns were trying to get Brandon Ayuk from the 49ers, and I believe they offered Amari Cooper. So perhaps that rubbed him the wrong way a little bit. We'll see how that goes. James Cook, 13.3. Kenneth Walker, over 100 yards, gets a touchdown. 22 points from him. I see he's got a Q next to his name now. Laporta went for 8.5. Kirk in the flex, only 4. Bass, your kicker from Buffalo, goes for about 10 or 11. And, excuse me, the San Francisco defense on Monday night there got you 25 points. Who else? I think, what did Dubsy? Yeah, Dubsy Hooligans had Ayuk, Kittle, and Moody. Lots of eggs in the 49ers basket for Dubsy Hooligans here in this matchup. And by far the highest score in this matchup was the kicker, Moody. He kicks 2 50-pluses, 2 40-pluses, a 30-plus. Yahoo has him at 25 points. He scored like 20, what was it, like 26.6? I got to check and see if he set a field goal record. How many field goals did he actually? I think the record is like 6. 1, 2, he had 6 field goals. That might tie the record for most field goals in a single week. I'd have to go and look here. But anyway, Possum Magic, Dubsy Hooligans, heavy on. I don't know. Your starting lineup is like Eagles, Dolphins, and 49ers. I said half of your starting lineup was Disco's starting lineup last year, and I believe Detling had the Hurts Philadelphia defense buns last year. Look where that didn't do anything good for him, as you may recall. Hurts goes for 37. He had a bink, so fee about 40 to A.J. Brown there. Kind of surprised that, Kevin, you didn't go for the A.J. Brown Hurts stack again this year. You could have done it. You could have, because I'm pretty sure. I don't want to turn around and look at the draft board here, but I'm pretty sure, because you are the one who took Jalen Hurts in the second round. I'm fairly certain. Right? Yeah. You took Jamar Chase when you could have taken A.J. Brown and had that stack. As an Eagles fan that you are, I'm surprised that you did not do that. Maybe you were scared after last year because you tried to do it, but it didn't happen. I don't really know what that was, but that definitely was a surprise to me. All right, Jamar Chase goes for 12, Waddle 16, Ayuk 5, Gus the Bus 4, David Montgomery 16.5, Kittle goes for 8, Mostert goes for 4. He's got a Q by his name too. Him and Ashan both injured already. All right, chest injury. Again, Moody goes for 26, and the Eagles defense, they won the game. Yahoo says 5. Looks like you got a 6-point bump to 11. But yeah, Moody did everything he could to help you out here. But San Francisco's defense got 25 points last night. You really just needed a little bit more from Ayuk. You lost by just under 15. You got what you needed from the Detroit stack of Goff, Amon-Ra, and Laporta. a low score from that, probably one of the lower scores you'll see from that trio this year. But yeah, your 49ers could not come through. Your Eagles could not really come through, even though they won the game. So this is going to be an interesting lineup to watch from week to week. You're heavy on Eagles, Dolphins, and 49ers. So it's going to be, as much as you said you loved your team going into it, we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Anyway, all right. Yinzer Jags, he starts 1-0. He is in 5th place. And Dub C. Hooligan starts 0-1 and in 10th place. All right. Last matchup, we had Gags to Riches going up against Hillbillies on PCP. And Gags, looking to go from worst to first this year, pops off for 198.9 and knocks out Hillbillies on PCP with 160.1. Both teams here stacking quarterbacks and wide receivers. Gags has got the Tua Tyreek connection, while Hillbillies has the Stroud Nico connection. This week, the advantage went to Tua and Tyreek as they had an 80-yard touchdown completion, so that was +6 for that stack. Stroud and Collins actually didn't do too bad, but so Tua and Tyreek did a little bit better. So thanks to that stack, I should say thanks to the Bink. Again, I just like the podcasters. I'm working out the kinks here, trying to get back into the lingo, things like that here. All right. So Tua goes for 51 and Tyreek goes for 29. Diggs catches 2 touchdowns and goes for 22 in his debut. D-Hop only 1.8. Kamara goes for 22 in a blowout of Carolina. James Conner 19. Kyle Pitts 11.5. Jay Polk, you're in the flex there, goes for 1.5. Justin Tucker, only 6 point something. And then the Chargers defense. Good plug and play here. I don't know if do you even have any other defenses on your team? You went with them over Buffalo. Ended up being a good choice. Looks like the Raiders, the Giants, and the Panthers are going to be the teams you want to play your defenses against this year. At least so far, they all look pretty terrible. Anyway, the Chargers defense. Yahoo says 19. Gags, looks like you got a pretty good boost. You had that +6. So that would make it like 25. That would +6, 183. So you got about a 15-point bump from the Chargers defense from 19 to 34. And it was just under 200 there, enough to get you past Hillbillies this week. Said the Stroud Nico stack gets 45 from CJ and 17.7 from Nico. DK only 6. Malik Neighbors 11.5. Jonathan Taylor 10.5. Zamir White 4.5. Bowers from the Raiders there 11.8. Calvin Ridley in a flex 8. Bates, the kicker that you were questionable about, thought maybe he was going to get cut on draft day there. He gets you about 7.5. And then the Saints defense, good matchup, good defensive matchup in this one here for both of you guys. They feasted on Carolina. Yahoo also says 19. Looks like, let's see, Brian, you did not have any binks. So you got about an 18-point boost up to 37. So yeah, 2 good scores for the defenses here. But yeah, the Tua Tyreek stack outdid CJ Collins. And Kamara, Connor, Diggs did pretty good. Not great, but better than Hillbillies, receivers, and running backs there. And that made the difference in this one. You've said, both of you had some disappointing scores. Gags could have easily been well over 200 points here, but D-Hop and Polk both went for 1.5. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So what do we got? Gags to Riches gets the victory. Like I said, 198.9, the highest score of week 1. He is 1-0 and obviously in first place. While Hillbillies on PCP, he is 0-1. He starts in 7th place. All right, guys, that is pretty much it for week 1. Yeah, Gags goes from last place last year to starting at the top this year. We'll see how that goes. Anything else to talk about? Already said Shawshank is the first one eliminated from the knockout pool, and a lot of injured players this week, and so there should be there's not a lot to pick from on the waiver wire, but some people need some stuff, so I would be surprised if somebody like Zach doesn't pick up Baker Mayfield. He'll probably get picked up. Any other quarterback play? Nothing else really looking too appealing. Just looking here quickly at the available free agents, not a whole lot to pick from. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because some people are already a little bit in trouble, myself included, with some injuries and things like that going on. But yeah, there's still, despite that, there's still pretty slim pickings on the waiver wire. Yeah, so I don't know if T is going to come back. I need T to come back. What I'm worried about is that T. Higgins is like, fuck you guys. I know you want to get rid of me after this year. I'm healthy, but I'm going to pretend that I've got an injury, and you're not going to put me out on the field, which I could understand sort of, but then it's going to be like, that's a really stupid thing to do because you're playing for a contract this year. Probably not from the Bengals, but from somebody. And they don't want to see you, if that's how your behavior is going to be off the field, then you're going to cost yourself a lot of money if teams don't want to sign you because they think you're going to have an attitude off the field, attitude issues there. So hopefully, who knows? He's got a stupid hamstring injury, which you can't hurry back from. Puka's on IR for a couple of weeks. All I needed was to have either Shakir, JSN, or one of these guys. Who else do I have? Judy, like one of those guys to just step up and be serviceable. And otherwise, I would be very happy with my starting lineup. Chase to get going, need T in there. Just my strong at all my other positions. Of course, now Ferguson. Who knows how hurt he's going to be? But going into it, I love my lineup, but how quickly things change. So it just needed like one of those receivers to be serviceable enough, and I would feel really good about my starting lineup. But here we are. So hopefully not an 0-7 start this year, because I'm playing for that back-to-back pot. You guys watch out. I know everyone's goal is to prevent that, but I want you to know that I don't care how many losses I start out with or whatever happens. If I start 0-7 again, I don't care. I'm still gonna play, and I'm coming for you guys, and I'm coming for that back-to-back champ pot. I'm going for it. Gonna try. But off to about the worst possible start that I could have asked for. I knew this matchup was going to be a tough one, but I liked no offense to you guys coming up here, but I kind of liked my schedule these next few weeks versus Ed, Boomers, Gags, and Biscuits. Felt Felt like I could get into a good, even if I lost to Justin this week, which I obviously did. Felt like going in at the first few weeks here, even if I had a setback in week 1, I'd be able to maybe get off to a decent start. But now my guys are dropping like flies, and it is obviously going to. And if my receiver trio this week might be Shakir, JSN, and Jerry Judy. And God, it's gross just to speak those words. Anyway, but we'll see. I digress. I get off track here when I should just be wrapping this thing up. Because let's face it, nobody's here. I'm waving to you guys, but no one's there. Talking, but no one is listening. Anyway, all right. Again, great draft. Always a wonderful time to see pretty much everybody this year. Couldn't quite get everyone. Good to see that Zach is a real person and not just a figment of Ed. Maybe like a conglomeration of Zach and Ed and Gags, like smushed together to create. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but anyway. He's a real person. He was entertaining to have around. Good addition to the league. Happy to have you. Kevin, thanks for hosting the draft once again. I think everyone had a good time. Lots of money exchanged hands once again. But everybody came out with a good time. So again, we'll see what happens and where it is next year. Anyway, all right, guys. Thanks for listening, watching, or whatever it is you do, assuming there's still anybody there. Good luck to everyone. Let's stop with the injuries. Let's have everybody meet or exceed expectations. Enough of these single-digit scores. Enough of these 25-pointers from our quarterbacks. Let's go, guys. Come on. Get things started. All right, everyone. Thanks, and we will see you back here next week to discuss the events of Week 2. All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks again, and bye-bye.